You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. This is your host, Tim Link, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. My special guest today is USA Today bestselling author, the author of All the Summer Girls, Meg Donohue. And Meg will be talking to us today about her latest book, Dog Crazy. So we're excited to talk to Meg about the book and also talk to Meg a little bit about her writing processes and how she puts the magic in all these books. So it's going to be a great show. So everybody hang tight. We'll be right back to talk to Meg Donohue right after these messages. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Amazing Pet Expos is coming to a city near you. Admission is always free, and your pet is welcome. Shopping, adoptions, free nail trims, discounted shots and microchipping, agility, a pet costume contest, and much more. Plus, meet the guys from Animal Planet's hit TV series Tank and Pit Boss. Online at AmazingPetExpos.com.
Bring your pets to the Pet Expo.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. And joining me now is author Meg Donohue. Meg, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a blast. I'm so glad you're here today, and we're excited to talk to you about the book. So tell us a little bit about Dog Crazy.
Sure. Dog Crazy is a novel. It is my third novel. It's set here in San Francisco, which is where I live, and it is about a pet bereavement counselor, which is a counselor, sort of like a therapist, who speaks to people who've lost their pets and are having trouble grieving for them. And the secret that Maggie, the pet bereavement counselor's patients, don't know, really very few people in the world know, is that Maggie is actually agoraphobic, which is something she's been dealing with ever since her own dog died. And so she's meeting with patients in her home, and she's able to really help her patients, but she's having a lot of trouble helping herself, ironically. And into her life walks a young woman, a patient, really a girl, who has recently lost her dog. She claims that her dog literally is just lost or perhaps even stolen, but her family wants her to grieve this dog and realize that the dog very likely isn't coming back and it's time to move on with her life. And the girl really refuses to do this. And the only way for Maggie to help this girl is to go out into the streets of San Francisco and talk to her while she looks for her missing, stolen, perhaps dead dog. And so there's sort of a mystery element to it where Maggie and this girl roam the streets of San Francisco, and we find out eventually what has happened. And Maggie obviously has to come face to face with her own condition and issues in order to help this girl out in the world. And there's also a love story, but I'd say overall it's very much about the dog-human bond, written about with humor, and even though there's some sadness, it's an uplifting, fun page-turner.
Yeah, absolutely. And if a dog's involved, there's got to be a love story in there somewhere, right?
Of course.
You touched upon it briefly. So first of all, writing the book. What inspired you to write the book? Because it sounds like there's a lot of elements in here. Did you pull from real life experiences, or was it, how'd you go about your research for the book? Well,
in each of my books, this is the first book I've written that really puts the dog-human relationship right in the forefront. That's what this book is really about. And the other books that I've written have each had dogs in some sort of supporting role. But with this book, I really wanted to make the dog-human bond the central theme of the book. And unfortunately, I think that loving a dog sort of comes hand in hand with losing a dog. One of the things that someone said, that the only bad thing about a dog is how short their lives are. And I think that's very, very true. And so, when I was thinking about that, I sort of came up with this idea of a therapist who speaks to people who are having trouble getting over losing a dog. And then I ended up meeting with a pet bereavement therapist here in San Francisco. And really when I was in the very early stages of thinking about the book, and it turned out that our meeting was completely fascinating to me, and she recommended some other books for me to read, and it just made me all the more excited to go down this path of developing this story. And certainly in my own life, I am a huge dog lover, and I wanted to write especially about, the book is fiction. All of the human characters are fictional, but I would say that the dog characters have some non-fictional elements, especially the main dog in the book, who bears a very strong resemblance to the dog I call my dog soulmate, who passed away about 5 years ago, and I still think about every day. And so the book for me was sort of a way to commemorate his life in a lot of ways and to think about him. And so those are the two things that inspired me, really, were this one particular dog I had, and also just wanting to write about the way people feel about their dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's important, in the work that I do with my clients, I do a lot of work with lost and missing animals, stolen animals. And then I also do a lot of grief counseling for people. And, I think you did a great job with the book in a lot of aspects, but in particular, the fact that so often when a dog goes missing, after a certain period of time, it's natural for our friends and family to say, hey, he's probably moved on, he's probably passed on, move on, trying to get us out of the fact that we're missing our dog and trying to tell us that we should now grieve. And did you find through any of your talking to the bereavement counselor, the specialist, and your other research you did you find out that that's a normal thing? Do they deal with that quite often?
They do, and not just with missing dogs, with dogs that truly have passed on. They find that a lot of their patients are being told by the people in their lives that there's a finite period that you should grieve for an animal, and it's not easy for everyone to understand that loss, whether it's a missing dog or a dog that has died. Everyone has their own timeline for dealing with those things, and I think grief is hard for everyone to deal with, whether it's grieving a person or an animal. And I think particularly with animals, sometimes it's particularly hard for people to understand, how much time to allow for those feelings of loss, what's acceptable.
That's right. And, I would totally agree with you on that. And as you mentioned with your soulmate, a lot of people feel that, that they love their animals. People that have animals in their life typically love them, or they wouldn't have them in their lives. But there are those of us out there, many of us out there, that we believe our dogs and our cats and our animals are our soulmates, that they're part of our lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel very strongly that these connections and relationships are relationships that we should respect every bit as much as we respect the other human relationships in our lives. And we should make allowances for everything that has to do with those relationships.
That's right. So you talk about in the book about these relationships and the bond and the connection between the human companions and the animals. Was there anything through writing the book and the whole process that solidified that more for you, or was there one area that you would say identifies truly what the bond is between the animals and their human companions in that relationship?
Well, I think there are so many reasons why that bond is so special and means so much to many people. I think certainly there's this lack of judgment from our animals that I definitely thought about when writing the book, why, people who, whether or not they have trouble connecting with other people, I think there's just something to the relationship that you can have with an animal where they're just there for you. They're there to listen or cuddle or go for a run or whatever it is that, brings you joy. Your animals are there for you in this way that hopefully you have a person in your life who's there for you in a different, wonderful way. Mm-hmm. But maybe you don't, maybe you do. Either way, I think that relationship with our animals is special.
That's right. Unconditional love, and they're always up for fun. So that's two great things, I think.
Absolutely. And that's, I can't emphasize enough that even though this book has these sad elements, because I think that unfortunately it's just part of loving a dog, it also is a lot of fun. I hope that there's a lot of humor in the book and that people find it funny, because I think that dogs make us laugh. That's probably my favorite thing about dogs is just, no matter what you have going on in your life, I feel like, if you have the right dog, he or she is going to make you laugh.
That's right, exactly. And if your animal has made their transition, part of that grieving process is to start to heal that and start to remember all the times they made you laugh and made you happy, and soon those will be the predominant things that are part of your life, I would say, wouldn't you?
I would, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting hearing about how pet bereavement counseling offers people a place to celebrate the lives of their pets, very much as a place to sort of more traditionally mourn their pets. It's also really a commemoration and a celebration. And it was very interesting for me personally as I was writing the book. I felt like this book sort of became my space to commemorate this one particular dog in my life. And it felt, there were days that I was writing and I was crying, but most of the time I was sitting there writing with this smile on my face, just loving thinking about the life of this particular dog.
That's right. So we got to give a big shout out. So tell us the name of your baby.
His name was King Oberon, but we called him Owie, and he was a black Portuguese water dog. I got him my senior year of high school, and then I brought him to college with me, where he attended many classes with me. And then we moved to New York together for, I would say, about 4 years, and then we moved to Chicago, and then we moved to San Francisco, and that's where he finally left me, and that's where I remain, but he was with me for a long, formative stretch of my life.
There you go. Great long life. What a journey. What a great journey you guys had together.
Yeah.
That's All right. Big shout out to OE.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, Meg, we're going to take a quick break. Everybody hang tight. We'll come back and continue our conversation with Meg Donohue after these messages. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
It's DesignerPetSweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit DesignerPetSweaters.com to order your 4-legged fashions today. Large or small, we fit them all. DesignerPetSweaters.com.
Hi, I'm Dana Humphrey, also known as the Pet Lady. I travel from coast to coast to pet trade shows and consumer events to scout out what the hottest, hippest, and most unique pet products are on the planet, bringing you tips and tricks from top veterinarians, groomers, trainers on how to safely travel and live happily with your pets. The Pet Lady will be in a city near you, showing off the latest and greatest tech pet gadgets, cozy comforts, and fab gift ideas for man's and woman's best friend. You can learn more at thepetlady.net or connect socially and tweet with me at PetLadyWorld.
Hi, my name is Brent Atwater, and I'm the Animal Reincarnation Authority. Join me every week on Alive Again and let me look at your pet's energy to determine if they're going to reincarnate. I'll be able to tell you when they're going to come back and what they look like. So send me your pet's photo and email me your question at brent@petliferadio.com. I'm looking forward to answering your questions on Alive Again.
Every week only on PetLifeRadio.com.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Here with author Meg Donohue talking to us about her latest, greatest book, Dog Crazy. Now, Meg, I want to talk to you a little bit about your writing process. So tell us a little bit about this particular book, Dog Crazy, as far as, was it more challenging now that your third book, or is it old hat for you? Tell us about the struggles or the ease at how you came about putting together the book.
Sure. I think with this book, because I have this enormous respect for the way people feel about their dogs, it was really important to me to, quote-unquote, get it right. And I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that it was the book it could be. And so the process ended up being difficult for me. It took me a while to sort of find my way into this book. And then I think once I did, maybe 3 or 4 months into the writing process, I think I finally hit my stride, and then it flowed from there. And I sort of learned to go a little bit easier on myself on the days that the writing wasn't coming the way I wanted it to. And it flowed from there.
Well, did you find that, let's talk about timelines. I know, obviously, if you have contracts, you got to hit certain timelines. But what was the length of the process for this till you said, okay, I've got something here. I've got something that, we know there's another year's worth of editing or whatever amount of months that goes into it. But how long did it take you to put it all together?
It took me about a year to get to the point where I sent a full draft into my editor. And that wasn't my first full draft. I'm really hard on myself with my drafts, so I take them absolutely as far as I can, which usually means several versions before I send them into my editor, and then once I send it into her, I go through, at least one, if not usually 2 more drafts after that, and that was the case with Dog Crazy as well. So I would say it took about a year, and then some editing beyond that. But I always start with an outline. That's the first thing that I do. I'm one of those writers that really uses an outline, and I tend to stick pretty close to it, and I find that really helps, in the days that I'm feeling a bit lost. I can just look at the outline, remember that I do have this trajectory, and things change along the way sometimes, but yeah, I start with an outline and go from there.
That's great. Would you call yourself a daily writer, or a writer that forces themselves to write daily, or just whenever the whimsical thought ideas pop in your mind?
No, I'm definitely a forced, almost daily writer. I wouldn't say daily, but I actually have 3 young children. I have 3 girls who are 5 and 3 and 11 months. And so I have a certain amount of time every day that is set aside for my work, for my writing, and puts a lot of pressure on me to make sure I'm, sitting down in my chair and getting that writing done, because in the afternoon I'm back on with the kids. So I don't have a lot of time for just letting the muse strike me. It has to happen at certain moments, which I think is actually kind of good for my personality. I think having that structure and pressure is actually helpful for me.
Wow. So is it something like a 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. type structure that you put yourself into?
Oh, gosh, no. That would be really hard. I'm not that disciplined. No, it's more like 9 to 2 every day.
Oh, well, that's reasonable. Yeah. I like that. I didn't know if your muse had to be woken up with a couple of strong shots of coffee or not. So that's
well, she does, but around 9, not 4.
Good on you. That's great. All right. Well, Meg, tell us a little bit about where people can find the book Dog Crazy and all the wonderful events and appearances and things you're going to be doing.
Oh, thanks. It should be available at all of your local stores and all of the usual big box stores and online just about everywhere. My website is www.megdonohue, that's MEGDONOHUE.com, and I do have all the places that it's for sale on there. But, pretty much anywhere books are sold, you'll find it. And I have quite a few events all in the Bay Area coming up, including a fundraiser for a no-kill shelter coming up just on March 8th.
That's great.
And then my big launch event is March 12th at Books Inc. in San Francisco. So if anybody's in the Bay Area and wants to stop by and see me, please take a look at my website. There are a bunch of events listed there. I'd love to say hello.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Everybody go to megdonohue.com, and I'm sure you're on Facebook and all those wonderful places. Yeah. Definitely go to those events. Go to the official launch on the 12th, and also definitely support our rescue organizations, and that's great of you to be able to do that, Meg. Good on you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that aspect of the book. Quite a few of my events have a benefit aspect to them that for some of the sales to go to these rescue organizations, which I'm just thrilled about.
Absolutely. Well, that's how I like to do things, too, and that's how we like to do it at Pet Life Radio, so big kudos to you.
Great.
All right. Well, everybody go pick up a copy of Dog Crazy by Meg Donohue. It's a great read, a great story. Have a couple of tissues, but also have a lot of laughs in there, too, so it's great. Meg, thanks so much for coming on the Animal Rights Show on Pet Life Radio. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Our pleasure. Well, we're coming to the end of the show today, so I'd like to thank everyone for listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Also like to thank our sponsors and producers for making this show possible. To find out more about me, Tim Link, and the other guests I've interviewed on the Animal Rights Show, you can visit me at PetLifeRadio.com and click on the Animal Rights icon and download all these wonderful episodes. And while you're there, be sure to check out all the other wonderful hosts and shows on Pet Life Radio. It's PetLifeRadio.com. If you have any questions for me or comments or ideas for the show, please email me. You can email me at tim@PetLifeRadio.com. That's tim@PetLifeRadio.com, and I'll be glad to answer your questions, entertain your comments, and bring on the people you want to hear from most onto the show. So until next time, write a great story about the animals in your life. Share it in a blog, an article, or in a book. Who knows? You may be the next guest on Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have a great day.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.